On the night of October 14, 2016, the small lakeside town of Briar Ridge, Oregon, was settling into its usual quiet. Mist moved across the water in long ribbons, the kind that swallowed sound and blurred headlights. Residents would later say that the silence was too quiet, the kind of eerie stillness that arrives before something awful happens. At 9:47 p.m., 28-year-old Madeline Shaw left the Tipping Point bar after 2 glasses of cider and a short argument with her boyfriend, Lorne. Witnesses said she seemed upset but not frightened. She walked out, crossed Cedar Lane, and headed toward her white Subaru parked under a flickering street lamp. She never made it home. By morning, her car was still there. The door was cracked open. Her phone sat in the cup holder. Her wallet was untouched. But Madeline was gone. Briar Ridge had seen theft, domestic disputes, and the occasional bar fight, but never a disappearance. And never one like this. Detectives always begin with the closest person. In this case, it was Aaron. He claimed he had gone home alone after the argument and fallen asleep on the couch. He woke up at 6:12 a.m. to 4 missed calls, all from Madeline's sister. Aaron cooperated fully. He handed over his phone, allowed a search of his apartment, and answered every question. But there were problems. He had scratches on his forearm. He couldn't explain the 17-minute gap in his timeline between leaving the bar and arriving home. A witness later insisted she saw a man matching Aaron's build leaning into Madeline's car at around 10 p.m. Still, there was no physical evidence linking Aaron to the disappearance. No fingerprints. No DNA. No signs of a struggle. Police couldn't arrest him, not yet. And so the case grew cold at a speed that shocked everyone. Within 48 hours, the entire town mobilized. Helicopters cut across the sky. Volunteers combed through forests, riverbanks, abandoned barns, and the rocky cliffs along the lake. On day 5, a breakthrough. A fisherman spotted something floating near the South Ridge Dam. It was a jacket, Madeline's jacket, the one she wore the night she vanished. But there was no blood, no tears in the fabric, nothing suggesting foul play. Detectives wondered, had she fallen in? Jumped? Been pushed? Or had someone planted it? The discovery was too clean. Too convenient. Almost staged. But there was nothing else to go on, so the search widened, and hope shrank. 2 weeks later, a local hunter reported a burnt-out shack deep in the forest. Inside, he found the following. A woman's earring. A charred notebook. A melted watch. A fingerprint on a surviving metal fragment. Shoe prints leading toward the lake. The prints matched Madeline's boots. Detectives thought they had the answer, until the fingerprint results came back. The print didn't belong to Aaron. It belonged to Daniel Huxley, a man who lived 40 miles away. A man with no known connection to Madeline. A man who, according to his work records, had been on a job site the night she vanished. Detectives were puzzled. How did Huxley's fingerprint end up at a bone shack connected to Madeline's last known movements? Huxley was brought in for questioning. He said he had never seen Madeline in his life. He had never been near the shack. His alibi seemed solid. He was clocked in at a manufacturing plant with multiple cameras and co-workers. The fingerprint had to be a mistake. But it wasn't. Something about this case was off, way off. 3 months after Madeline disappeared, the case was about to be shelved, until something strange happened. A college student named Eli Cartner uploaded a drone video taken the night Madeline vanished. He hadn't realized the footage contained anything important until a friend pointed out a set of headlights moving along Forest Route 9, a restricted area, around 10:15 p.m. The timestamp aligned perfectly with the window of Madeline's disappearance. Detectives froze when they slowed the footage. Because the vehicle wasn't just any vehicle. It was a white sheriff's department SUV. And it was heading toward the same direction where Madeline's jacket had been found. But the most disturbing detail? The SUV's rear passenger door was open. The sheriff's department scrambled to identify which deputy had been driving the SUV. They eventually traced it to Deputy Sheriff Cole Warrick, a 36-year-old officer with no previous disciplinary issues. But as investigators dug deeper, cracks began to show. Warrick had been near the Tipping Point bar earlier that evening. He failed to report his location for a 34-minute window. He had recently been disciplined for inappropriate conduct during a traffic stop involving a young woman. Still, no evidence directly tied him to Madeline. When detectives searched his home and vehicle, they found nothing. But then they checked his cabin, a small property on the edge of Briar Forest. There, in a storage drawer, they discovered a keychain with an engraved silver M. Madeline's sister confirmed she carried one exactly like it. Warrick claimed he had found it during the search and forgot to turn it in. But nobody believed him. Still, it wasn't enough to arrest him. The case remained stuck in limbo. 6 months after Madeline vanished, police received a phone call that changed everything. A woman in Ohio claimed she had seen Madeline. She described her exactly: the hair, the height, the scar below her left wrist, and said the woman had been working at a roadside diner under the name Lena Mokel. Investigators raced to the location. And there she was, Madeline Shaw, alive. But the story she told was something nobody was prepared for. Madeline explained that she hadn't been abducted. She hadn't been killed. She had run. From Aaron. From her job. From her debts. From her life. But most of all, from her own family. She revealed that her marriage had collapsed long before she vanished. She was drowning in debt her husband didn't know about. She was tired of Briar Ridge, tired of the pressure, tired of pretending everything was fine. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part came when detectives asked her about the burned shack, the fingerprint, the jacket, the white SUV, and the so-called evidence. Madeline shook her head. "I left my jacket in the car. I never went to the woods. I never saw a burned shack. I don't know any Deputy Warrick. I don't know a Daniel Huxley. None of that was me." So if she wasn't there, who staged the evidence? And why? The pieces finally came together when detectives re-examined the drone footage. The sheriff's SUV wasn't alone. 4 minutes after it appeared, another vehicle followed, a dark pickup truck. The truck belonged to Deputy Cole Warrick's brother-in-law, a man with a criminal record involving staged crime scenes and insurance fraud. Detectives now believed Madeline left willingly. Her disappearance was real, but the crime scene was fake. Someone had taken advantage of her absence to create the illusion of a crime. But who? The answer shocked the entire department. It was Aaron, her boyfriend. He had discovered Madeline's financial troubles weeks before she vanished. He knew she wanted to leave. He feared humiliation. He feared being abandoned. So he followed her that night. Saw her get into her car. Saw her drive off. And when she didn't come home, he panicked. He had lost control, he later confessed. He wanted the world to think she had been kidnapped, not that she had left him. So he staged the entire thing. Took her jacket. Planted it near the lake. Enlisted Deputy Warrick in exchange for money. Had Warrick's brother-in-law burn the shack. Used old items belonging to Madeline to place at the scene. Planted a random fingerprint from a toolbox he purchased at a garage sale. He wanted the town to think Madeline was dead. He wanted sympathy. He wanted attention. He wanted control. But the ultimate twist? He didn't want her back. He wanted the story. He wanted to become the grieving boyfriend everyone supported. He wanted to be seen as a victim. Aaron Lorne was arrested and charged with obstruction of justice, evidence tampering, fraud, and conspiracy with law enforcement. Deputy Warrick lost his badge and was sentenced for his role. Madeline did not return to Briar Ridge. She changed her name. Moved states. Started over. During the final interview, a detective asked her, "Why didn't you tell anyone you were leaving?" Madeline stared at the camera for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Sometimes disappearing is easier than explaining why you want to." 1 year later, people still debated the case online. Many believed Madeline saved herself. Others believed she acted selfishly. Some believed Aaron was a monster. Others believed he was broken. But the truth? The truth was a cocktail of human flaws: desperation, fear, pride, manipulation, heartbreak, and poor decisions. It wasn't the crime that was shocking. It was the motive. Aaron didn't stage the crime to hide a murder. He staged it to hide a breakup.